Good evening. Time for a bit more cruise with Colin. So this evening you find me outside, and it's a bit chilly actually. I'm just doing a late night barbecue for one, while everyone else is in bed. You can probably hear those birds in the background. Someone should put down some poison or something. Tonight we're going to do a chapter called Clive, Internet Millionaire. And for those of you who've been paying attention, Clive is Deirdre Lancett's semi-retired, trained, perverted husband who treks the streets of Lycra whilst coming up with business plans. So this is Clive, Internet Millionaire. Like TV dragon Peter Jones, Clive was an internet millionaire. Well, that's what his LinkedIn profile claimed, and it's close to the truth in the sense that he must have registered close to 1 million patents and websites, well, maybe 100, which so far had allowed him to amass a total fortune of sod all. An article in the Railway magazine had banged on about how online social networking was going to be the inventor's friend. Clive, already pegged as something of a naive fool, believes pretty much everything he reads. To give him some credit though, he was pretty inventive in his own way. Some of his less fantastical ideas are as follows. This is just a load of ideas and websites that Clive as an idiot has come up with. The first one is a website called nocharactersinsportanymore.com. The British Broadcasting Corporation sports coverage being, as it was at the time, largely shown in the afternoon and early evening, prime rice pudding time for Deirdre. I don't even know what that means. Often form the audio-visual background to Clive's model railway machinations. It was comforting in its predictability, and the quiet burble of the aging ex-pros on various commentary teams struck a chord on Clive's prematurely retired heartstrings. As the BBC expanded onto the World Wide Web, Clive became increasingly reliant on repeats of some of sport's greatest moments, over and over again, blocking out the noise of Deirdre's blender and gradually infiltrating Clive's psyche. Oh yes, thought Clive, the internet was going to be big, and Clive was not going to be found wanting in the race to tenderly capture the dot-com bubble at full inflation. And there we have it, a website remembering some of the greatest characters in sports, not necessarily for their ability, but for what they brought to sport in terms of interest, unpredictability and deviation from the norm. The parameters for all these are obviously defined by Clive himself, not by any actual statistics. So the site includes a list of the top 10 characters in snooker. Number 10, Steve Davis, also known as the Nugget. Really interesting. Number 9, Woody Thorne, his hair's all gone, according to Chaz and Dave's chart smasher Snooker Loopy. Number 8, Patsy Fagan, famously afflicted by the snooker yips. Number 7, Tony Drago, the high-speed man from Malta. Number 6, Silvino Francisco. Don't know why. Number 5, Kirk Stevens, a Lothario. Number 4, Dennis Taylor, for his funny glasses. Number 3, Jimmy White, spent too much time drinking with that prat from the Rolling Stones. Number 2, commentator Whispering Ted Lowe. Whispering Ted Lowe. And number 1, Alex Higgins, just for being nuts. The link was on a website called The Crucible Bar, where to be found are hilarious anecdotes from around the world of snooker, spanning the years 1971 to 2010. To be honest, it really isn't a very good website. Clive's next idea was Wiggy.com. Simply a website containing pictures of people both living and deceased with dodgy wigs. Dodgy wigs, toupees and comb-overs. Links can be found from sites such as menwholooklikeKennyRogers.com and TerryRoganOfficial.org.uk. Actually, I'm surprised this one hasn't taken off. It's pretty good. Next up, drinkinggames.com. Drinkinggames.com. Yeah. If I'm slurring, it's because of this wonderful beer from the Howard Town Brewery in Glossop. They sent me a box of it. It arrived within 12 hours of ordering. Thank you. DrinkingGames.com, one of Clive's better ideas actually. A list of drinking games with the published rules. The website was actually making quite a lot of money through drinks company advertising until Clive was sued by the owners of drinkinggames.co.uk, and he lost a lot. Oh, unlucky Clive. Some games of note include Drink While You Think Sport Edition Spoof, as seen on the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and for which Clive was separately sued by the makers of those films. And the James Bond drinking game, where each player has to drink upon the occurrence of any of James Bond's trademark film exploits, such as wearing a dinner suit, delivering a double entendre, killing a baddie, ordering a vodka martini, etc. This doesn't actually work for the Daniel Craig films because they're crap. RandomStuffInPubs.com. Not really worth explaining, just a stupid idea resulting from a slightly giggly afternoon in a beer garden in 1988. BooToAgoose.com. Video clips of idiots jumping out on and then usually being chased by geese. Oh, BooToAgoose.com, yeah. Don't try it with a swan, they can break your arm. MadeUpWords.com, which is a wiki, which I believe means you can write stuff on there if it's not your website. MadeUpWords.com was a website containing words Clive has made up. He really was quite bored at this point. It wasn't a big success, but here are some of the words he made up with some brief definitions. Impostrophe, an imposter you just can't miss. Clive would always confuse the apostrophe and the exclamation mark. Slipping gown, slipper, dressing gown like kind of adult romper suit kind of thing. Clevel, you're a clever guy and you're on the level. You're a clever guy, but you're also on the level. Splatoo, an indecipherable tattoo that looks like a splat. Boomerangatang, an ape that you just can't get rid of. So, long story short, Clive is not an internet millionaire. Clive is a model railway enthusiast, depressed from the middle-aged downturn his life had taken. He has also got recurring nightmares about the Marsh Nest disaster. He wasn't personally involved, but the BBC News footage of the Thames sinking tragedy, headed by the then thrusting young anchorman and future royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell, had clearly made quite an impact. Despite Clive's fall from Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation grace and the ensuing bizarre and reclusive behaviour previously documented, one thing remained a constant in Clive's annual cycle. Every year since 1995, Deirdre booked the same holiday cottage in the Gower Peninsula. It's lovely. Clive hates it though. He goes year after year. He keeps his mouth shut. Until now, he had never even considered suggesting a different holiday. He didn't have any motivation, the imagination or the bank balance. But then, the patent lawnmower, scarifier and feeder, copyright of Clive. This was the one. Clive patented his design. Got on the phone to Dragon's Den and the other show that's just the same on ITV and started harassing the people at B&Q to stock it in their stores. And 3 months later, Clive purchased, on the reconstituted Cotswold stone windowsill of an ironmongery, and dabbed ineffectually with paper napkin at the perspiration and rain which had settled on his brow. Perched, not purchased, perched. I'll start again. 3 months later, Clive perched on the reconstituted Cotswold stone of a Cirencester windowsill of an ironmongery, and he dabbed ineffectually at paper napkin at the perspiration and rain which had settled on his brow. He was feeling bloated from eating half the reduced price New York pastrami sandwich he told himself he deserved for his exertions. Reduced price? £3, Waitrose. He unzipped his bum bag and rummaged amongst the sandwich crust and loose change for his phone, desperate to end the taunting of his childish ringtone. What an unlikely setting for the rise of Merchant Prince, and you'll remember, probably, if you've been listening, that Colin saw Clive sat on this Cirencester shop window ledge while he was on his way to Waitrose. Anyway, So this was a call Clive was taking. The call came through from Dragon's Den, and Clive answered. His side of the conversation proceeded as follows. It's who? No, I don't want a Bannatyne. I don't know a Mr. Bannatyne. Oh, I see. No. I said no. Oh, I'll put the phone on, idiots. Clive's other failing was a short attention span. By the time Dragon's Den researcher called, Clive had got bored of the painted lawnmower and Scarfire idea and said he wasn't interested in appearing on their show after all. The man who wasn't really Duncan Bannatyne, but was actually a quite now disgruntled Peter Jones. He's the tall friendly one who always goes on about the internet's going to be big. Called incognito, wishing Clive with whatever luck with whatever he did in the future. He gave up. No, he didn't. He gave him a tip that he thought the internet was going to be big, which was music to Clive's ears, and rung off. Clive's dream of fame and fortune as a guru of law improvement were at a premature and self-inflicted end. Clive shook his head, shoved the phone back in his bum bag, hauled his carrier bag from the damp pavement, and speed walked his way back through the town centre to the branch of BT's Toy Store to research gaps in the model railway market.